Happy New Year. So cliche, but it happened, and here we are in this brand new year. And I don't know how many of you are on any social media whatsoever, but have there not been like a plethora of little funsy-punsy things about 2020, and it's the new year, and you get vision, and all of a sudden, things just get a little funky out there. So I thought I would spend a little time with you talking about our vision, about what it means. And yeah, this whole brand new year of 2020, first of all, I've been also seeing some memes that are like, 1990 was 30 years ago, and I'm like, I don't think that time passes like that. It's not linear anymore. It felt really slow when I was a kid, and I'm still, young comparative to some, but it just feels like it flies by, and I feel like we were just having this conversation like a year ago, which feels like no time. But then when you stop and you look and you see if you look back at this past year, right, there's always a little bit of hindsight, 2020, okay, I did it again, sorry. You think about all that we've come through. You think about all the things that have happened, and you start to label them, and you start to see them, and you start to remember, okay, there were some really glorious moments last year, some really mountaintop experiences. And then there were, of course, the inevitable valley experiences, the lows, the hard times, the times where we think, will we ever get through this? And when you start to add all of those things up, all of a sudden it starts to feel like 365 days have actually passed. And then you kind of want to do this little dance. They're like, we made it. We should be excited, right? I've seen one of those memes where it says, when you're having a hard day, just remember that your track record for making it through hard times so far is 100%, so you can do this. And I would, of course, always like to add, you can do this with support from your friends and your family. Some of you don't have family nearby. Some of you don't have anybody that you could really call your close friend, but I'm here to tell you that this church is your family. All you have to do is be here, and you're a family. That's kind of how we work. This is why we're slightly informal. This is why we're okay with people making mistakes and being real. This is a big, big thing. So, all that to say that here we are, brand new year. And so I want to kind of give you some things that God put on my heart. I also wanted to tell you that, this year has been one of the first years. I've done a lot of year through the Bible reading, that was powerful. Wow, that was so powerful. And, some variations in between. And this year, or this past year now, 2019, I had been using the, what's the Bible app that I use? Thank you, YouVersion. And they have these awesome reading plans, and they have this opportunity to be in the Word and to experience what God has put on other people's hearts to share. This is just fully available to anybody, right? This app is free, and it also has, of course, the entire Bible. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that. It has more than enough versions for me to read from. My guess is it has your favorite version too. And so, I've been spending more intentional time, and it's been really neat to me to learn that God has been guiding some of the studies that I've been doing and kind of helping them to kind of coincide with when it's time to share, whether it's here or whether it's at our coffee groups on Tuesdays. Ladies, you know who you are, and I just wish all of you could come because it's beautiful, because it's more support and together time. So this time I've been reading about planning, and of course, we're all having this, heading forward planning and stuff. So, and it was doing a lot of study about Nehemiah, and so we'll get some more into that. But I wanted to kind of give you some funnies first because it's kind of a fun thing to do. So when I was looking at New Year's resolutions and, funny portions, there's one that says, I can't believe it's been a year since I didn't become a better person. Or kids asking a grown-up, what exactly is a New Year's resolution? And the grown-up says, it's a to-do list for the first week of January. So you guys still have a few more hours for that first week of January. Just get her done. Well, some of you have a word or a phrase that you like to plan to focus on all year instead of a list of improvements you'd like to make in your life. So some of the ones I've heard this year or over the years: honesty, intentionality, peace, tying up loose ends, pray more, exercise more, eat better. You get me? So I'm curious, do any of you have a word or a phrase that you care to share? And it's totally fine. I'm not reliant on you responding, but if anybody has one that's been on their heart or they've been wanting to talk about or say, I'm totally open to hearing a word or a phrase that any of you might have had planning for this year.
Walk in the Spirit.
Walk in the Spirit. That sounds really all-encompassing. I love that. Thank you. Walk in the Spirit. If you don't have one yet, I'm sure Arlene wouldn't mind if you just globbed onto that one. So, yeah. So, isn't it a common practice to meet the start of the new year? You want to plan to do all the things that you know you should do. You want to be healthier physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually. We don't need New Year's resolutions each year in order for God to do His work on us, to change us to be better, for the better. I like to remember, and one of my favorite musicians has a song, Nicole Nordeman, about His mercies are new every morning, right? Lamentations 3:22 and 23 talks about how those mercies are available to us every morning. Brand new. We're starting fresh. Do we need a brand new clean slate for 2020? No. It's great. I mean, it's nice to have like this almost scheduled time where the entire grouping of people is out there thinking, okay, what am I going to do this year? What am I going to do this year? Well, how am I going to make this year great? How am I going to be more? How am I going to do more? How am I going to be a better version of myself? Now, I do love that people are talking about being better versions of themselves. It's such a healthier goal than trying to outdo another person. Because, first of all, we have no idea what people are living through unless we are walking that path with them, and we still don't actually get it unless we are them. And so, for us to have the grace and the wisdom to understand that we each are walking our path and that all God is asking us to do is to grow. He's asking us to grow ourselves. Yes?
Guarding our thoughts.
Say that again?
Guarding our thoughts.
Guarding our thoughts. Absolutely. Absolutely, guarding our thoughts. Exactly. Because what we're doing, if we're not careful, is we're allowing our open thoughts or social media or the groups that we hang around with to kind of guide where we're going. And all of a sudden, we're just like this little stick in the river getting washed about and plunged down below and willy-nilly here and there. Guarding our thoughts, walking with the Spirit, those bring us to what is important. They bring us into being intentional. So I do love that word. That was one of mine, by the way, intentionality. It was a good one, and it was a good year. But again, I don't want anybody to be stressed out about not having a word or a phrase, okay? Don't stress out about that. Walk in the Spirit. Guard your thoughts. Spend some time. I mean, God has it for you. It may not look like a word. It may not look like a phrase. And that's okay. Because what God is doing with you is different than what He's doing with your neighbor. What He's doing with me is different than what He is doing with anyone else. And that's probably just as well. You know what I'm saying? So I would say, instead of stressing over what we need to improve, let's focus on our relationship with God. And what that is, we talked about it a little last time I shared, extended personal communion I'm a big fan of that, taking some time, some protected time. Not, oh, I've got 5 minutes, but the kids might come in, or, your life, again, different. Taking that time, spending it in prayer, spending it listening, spending it reading his words, so that we are learning his will for our lives, and we are starting each day with a clean slate. In Proverbs 21:5, it says, "The plans of the diligent lead surely to advantage, but everyone who is hasty so surely comes to poverty." So, that being said, is there room to plan? Is there room to let God lead? That's interesting. We'll get there. So just briefly, let's talk about vision. Basically, the ability to see what is ahead of you, right? They say the hindsight 2020. And my kids, for the longest time, I would tell them, I got eyes in the back of my head, so I'm pretty sure they're old enough now that they understand that's not true. That's not literally what I have, but I have a sixth sense that can tell me. So I'm still seeing you. I'm still knowing. There just literally aren't eyes in there. So seeing ahead. So back when I was a teenager, I remember one time I went in, they do the vision check, and they said, wow, go ahead and read the next line down. And then, okay. Then they're like, oh, let's do the next one down. And so, it comes out I've got 2013 vision. That was fun because I could see whatever I felt like I needed to see. I could see it down there. I could see it right here. So, that was a little while ago because I'm not a teenager anymore. And I've spent a lot of years working with a computer in front of me. That was my job. And not practicing the distance, looking in the eyes. And just age, apparently, has this way of telling its toll on your body. And so I no longer have 2013 vision. I don't even have 2020 vision anymore. So there's my disclaimer. I need glasses for distance. So if you're driving with me, I'll be like, but if I know where I'm going, it doesn't matter. Anyways, so in this instance, let's take vision as a term to define for future planning. Let's have a vision that allows goal setting and planning. So as Christians, how do we go about planning? Well, Proverbs again. So Proverbs is kind of one of those awesome books that has a lot of stick it to you truths, whether you like it or not. This is probably, here it is. This one I like, though, because it says, commit your works to the Lord, and your plans will be established. Proverbs 16:3. So, okay, that's good. Where are the shoes that we can put on and walk that? Before we do that, let's talk about Ecclesiastes 3:1-13. It's the song, it's the verses about it's a time to plan, there's a time to reap, there's a time to sow, and all of the encompassing things that there are times for in our life. And so Solomon, let's say that he's telling us that God has a plan for all of us, and that there is a cycle for everything that we're planned to do according to his will. So when we do all that our life demands of us, we need to find balance, right? Talked about that a little bit last time. Balance means making our yeses be good yeses, not just it needs to be done, so I'm going to say yes. So finding that balance. So in order to do that, it's really important to discover some purpose, right? So we suggested a few moments ago, spending time in prayer with God is key. But remember that prayer is a ritual to start something on a good note or to act to please God is really not a prayer at all. True prayer enables us to surrender ourselves to God's will and direction and strengthens us to plan and also to execute the plan. Nehemiah prayed and fasted, but he also planned, didn't he? He spent the time, he did the research, he knew what it would take to go back and rebuild that wall. And he made a plan long before he actually shared with the king. He had a plan. And during that time that he was creating his plan, he was also fasting and he was also praying. So that those can be in conjunction with each other. They are not an either or. And I love this. It says, let's refresh my memory. Mark Raha says, If prayer shows our dependency on God, then planning shows our responsibility. And I like it so much, I'm going to read it again. If prayer shows our dependency on God, then planning shows our responsibility. Clear purpose and a compelling vision can lead to effective planning. Goals give a sense of direction and motivation. They create momentum. They generate activities and also help us to stay focused during difficult times. And goals also help us to measure progress. Okay. So when we think about that, and I like Luke 14:28. It says, "For which of you, when he plans to build a tower, does not first sit down and calculate the cost to see if he has enough to complete it?" Kind of going back to the hasty plans and making a plan with God. Diligent. So, how do we live that out? Ben Franklin set aside time every day to review 2 questions. In the morning, he asked himself, "What good shall I do today?" And in the evening, "What good have I done today?" And that simple act of being responsible and accountable at the beginning of your day and toward the end of your day can make such a difference. Because we're kind of closing that day, bringing it full circle, okay, this day. And that's kind of the thing about starting out our day with God and talking to him and saying, "Okay, Lord, I know that I have a doctor's appointment or a counseling appointment today, and so obviously there are things that I need to do that are part of the ongoing things that are part of my responsibility while I'm doing the things, while I'm learning where you're guiding me and taking me. Help me to be aware of you and how you're guiding and leading in each moment." So on the way to my appointment, I could potentially be frustrated by drivers. As you know, that's also one of my ongoing, just drive, take your right of way, and go. I could spend my time driving doing that, or I could spend my time singing praise music, also great. Talking with whomever is in the car with me, that's super powerful time. Ever notice how those face-to-face conversations kind of open things up a little bit so there's not that pressure? So spending our time as we're going is part of this. Knowing that our destination is down the street in downtown Mount Vernon, that's where I need to go, but on my way there, what am I doing? How am I letting God lead, And do I need to obsess about which path to get to the church? To the appointment? No. I don't need to obsess about which way was I should have gone down division. Should not have gone on section. Goodness, there's school. What was I thinking? Isn't that how we do it in lifetime sometimes, though? We're on our way somewhere, and we start to second guess what we're doing there, how we're getting there. Are we doing it the right way? Is this the way that God intended for us to get there? What are you going to do with that? How are you supposed to reconcile that? I would say that you would stay where you are until God tells you to do something differently. In this sense, stay on the path that you started on, that you felt led to. And it may be that there are some switchbacks in that path, and so you can't see that progress. You can't see where you've been as clearly. You can't see where you're going as clearly. You guys, we had a church viewing of Pilgrim's Progress here in the church. It was the animated, updated version. It wasn't updated. It was true to the book. It was excellent. And some of you came and enjoyed that family time with us, and we watched it here in the foyer. And I love that because the Christian walk doesn't just encompass, my whole plan is to get to heaven. So my responsibility is to be a good person and to not do anything bad and my whole goal and my whole trajectory and my whole focus is getting there. And my friends, I don't think that's how it's supposed to be. A Christian met people along the way because that's how life is. We meet people along the way. We meet people who are going to encourage us. We're going to meet people who are going to share the journey with us. But there will also be people who will try and talk in our ear and discourage us. Maybe they don't mean to. Maybe they think they know something more about our lives or what God wants for our lives than we do. And that's when we have to guard our thoughts. And that's when we have to walk in the Spirit continuously. That's what Christian needed to do. And yeah, he had those slip-ups. He had those, okay, little off course here. Well, it didn't keep him from his goal. Okay, and he could have sat there and said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to sit here in indecision and not do anything. But he didn't. He pressed forward because he had been given a vision. And each of us have a vision. Now, again, we've got the big forest vision, right? We know that we want to be ready when Jesus comes. We know that we want to be part of his kingdom in heaven. Okay, so the trees in that forest are going to look a little different to everybody. And we don't want to lose that whole vision just because what we're encountering doesn't look like somebody else's encounter. And so, excuse me. And so, it's really important, I feel, to let ourselves trust God. He's guiding. And putting ourselves in his presence so that when we know where he's guiding us, we go. And when we don't, we wait. Right? What are you supposed to do in your lost? You do search and rescue, right? What are people supposed to do when they're lost? Okay, fair. Fair. It's better to not get lost in the first place. Okay. So it's best to, I was always told if you get lost, hug a tree, which is fine because I love trees. But hug a tree, stay in the place that you are. Because chances are, if you don't know where you are, you're just going to make it worse, or you're going to go in circles and you're going to wear yourself out. You're going to use up your energy and your supplies. And so we should probably talk later and see if I need an updated version on what to do if we're lost. And trust me, nobody wants to get lost on purpose, right? I should say, I don't believe anybody would want to. I like that. So the minute you feel like potentially not recognizing where you are, what you're going, stop. And isn't that so true with life? And I love how God gives us these life lessons that aren't just for our physical and our everyday lives. They're biblical principles. They are teaching us about the deeper portions of where God is in our lives. A Japanese proverb says, a vision without action is a daydream. Action without vision is a nightmare. So have you ever thought, I'm going to do this thing and maybe it didn't turn out so great, maybe somebody wanted to make something in the kitchen and they were like, I'm going to make something. And so all of a sudden we have ingredients and we throw them all together and we're like, I didn't really turn out the way I planned at all. Oh, but wait, I didn't really plan. So watch out for the nightmares. A German novelist once said, thinking is easy, acting is difficult, and to put one's thoughts into action is the most difficult thing in the world. Getting it from here to walk in it is tough. I would say it's even more tough sometimes as Christians because God puts something on our heart and we want to say, not ready yet. Or, I don't think so, God. I'm pretty sure that doesn't match what I was kind of picturing. But putting it into action, knowing that God has put on our hearts as Christians is a responsibility. So, I made up something for each person. If Bob would go ahead and hand those out. Don't hand out the one that you got started on. Bob got these ahead of time, so don't feel like you got to keep up. He was skipping ahead. You don't have to do anything with these right now. I mean, you're welcome to. If I've done my job, there should be a pencil in the pew, and if I haven't, well, I need to. It's a goals worksheet. When I first learned about trafficking, you guys have heard this briefly, 2013. And I literally was like, the world is not the same. I don't even know what to do, but I have to do something. When we learn about something that is super important and it's a big call to action, and we think, okay, I know this needs to be done, but I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know what you want me to do about this, God. I don't know. But what I do know is that you pierced my heart with this information for a reason. And sometimes it's hard to sit with that. Did I literally not make enough copies? I can't believe it. I underestimated everybody. I can make extras later. And it's been 6 years. 6 years of God continuing to help keep that in the forefront of my mind. This is something that is important. This is something that I want you to continually be broken over, because I'm going to use this later, and I'm going to use you more with this later. In the meantime, keep talking about it. Keep telling people. Keep sharing with them so that people know and they have an opportunity to be informed, so they have an opportunity to share. Part of everything that is happening is information. Information is knowledge, right? And so knowing that, and then God saying, okay, now that I know, now that you've shown up, now that you have, set up chairs, it's as simple as that. Sometimes we don't know what to do, so we show up. And it's as simple as, okay, well, we need chairs set up. Okay, I can do that. I'm willing to set up chairs. Okay, well, great. So now you've been relied upon to do something that doesn't seem important, but is actually really important. And then you show up again, you say, well, what more? What more can I do? How more can I help? Well, it would be really great if you could help with class. Okay, you know what? I can do that. I can help with the class. And so showing up again and saying, this is how I'm becoming responsible, I'm becoming trustworthy and intentional. So over the course of the years, God has brought me to a place where I actually get to go into schools and teach children how to be safe. And that to me was like, there aren't words for it. There are not words to be able to describe that feeling of being able to do something more. And I feel more like I'm on the front lines, but I wasn't ready for the front lines 6 years ago. And that's the kind of vision I'm talking about here. I'm not just talking about what are we doing tomorrow, what are we doing this week, what are we doing this month. I mean, those are important things. Our family tries to have like a meeting each month to okay, plan ahead. What are we doing? What do we have going on that way we are not letting things fall through the cracks. So again, this planning is important, but also letting God bring us along at the pace that he has for us and not just trying to rush through and turn it into a nightmare. Steve Maraboli said, if you have a goal, write it down. If you do not write it down, you do not have a goal, you have a wish. So I gave you some paper. And this is actually one of the exercises that we do in the class that I do for the children. Did you know the average age of a trafficked kid is 12? Average. That means younger and older. I'm gonna plug that every time I get a chance. It's so important. Okay, so the top of your worksheet says, what do I value? Whom do I really value? Who makes a difference in my life? Now, the kids, because we're doing this 3-day class, and sometimes we have to squeeze it into 2, we don't always get a chance to spend as much time with this, and that's going to be the same today because I don't want to keep you here all day. But they are lucky because they just get to circle, and you guys actually have to think and come up with the people. So I've given you some space to write down the people, like the top 5 people that you know are important in your life. And And then the next one, what do I really value? What really matters in my life? This is just an opportunity. It's an opportunity to put those shoes on and walk this and say, what's important to me? Obviously, one of those things on my list is fighting trafficking. Okay, another one for my list would be being a good parent, being present in people's lives, those types of things. And then the next one coming down, 5 to 10 year goal. What do I see myself? Picture it like 5 years. I'm going to be 49. I'm going to be pushing the big 5-0, right? What's my 5 year to 10 year plan? How am I going to get there if I don't think about it? How about some long-term goals? Sometimes people talk about these as bucket lists or whatnot. Over the course of my lifetime, what is it that I want to have been present for? What do I want to be able to be serving? How am I serving? And then this last one, I did give you some freebies down below from the worksheet. You're welcome. What character traits do I value? What kind of person do I want to be? It's one piece of paper, 2 sides. But I think, like you, like me, it can make enough of a difference this year so that we can say, this is my plan. This is what I'm aiming towards. And then, again, like any plan, you break it down, right? You break it down into steps, and you break it down into measurable and doable steps. I could not have told you what my steps were to get to sharing in classrooms for trafficking. I didn't even know that was where I wanted to be. I didn't know that was what God was going to say, this is what I've prepared for you. But I did know to keep moving forward about a passion that He's placed in my heart. And He's got a passion. He's got a passion. He's got multiple passions placed on each one of our hearts because He has given us the capacity. He's given us the capacity to do far more than we could ever imagine or do on our own. So yeah, New Year's resolutions are common. But what if we viewed the New Year as a reminder that God's mercies are new every morning? And instead of burdening ourselves trying to figure out about our special word, phrase, or resolution, that we spend time with Him in prayer and His word and letting Him guide us to the work He has in mind for us. This will allow us to discover that purpose. And using prayer as our dependency on God and planning as our responsibility to create goals that lead us to become the people that He created us to be. And isn't that the best resolution of all? Will you pray with me? Father God, You've been with us all the way. You've been before us, and You have everything in control, Lord. I pray, Lord, that this time and that this year and this day and this moment, that we remind ourselves how important it is to let You lead us, how important it is to be present in the moments that we have so that we can see Your vision for our lives to help us to become the people You created us to be. Lord, I pray that we become willing participants in this plan that You have. Lord, that You will give us the grace and the peace to pursue You and those goals that You have put on our heart and the passions that You have given us so that we really will be able to make a kingdom difference for You. And I pray, Lord, that You be with each one of us today as we go and bless our continued Sabbath time together with each other and with You. Amen.